Varus right at Uzi. They're going to say 80 carries to start. Uzi gets a good chuckle out of that.
I'm trying to think of, hey, how can you tilt RNG even more? And I think back to the LPL finals when EDG would like level 2 gank Uzi down to the bot lane after he'd already lost a few games. Maybe we're going to see Fenerbahçe try to ban out Uzi, maybe try and kill him in the early game and see if that works.
Take him on. Uzi can play Vayne. What have you got, Padden? Tristana might be a ban as well. I think we're doing it.
Do it. 680 carries on phase 1. There's going to be a Tristana.
There's a Twitch up still.
Twitch up? Nope.
That's gone. So first pick Tristana now?
Don't speak too soon. Don't speak too soon.
RNG on the red side, so they might ban the Tristana just to get rid of the first pick option. Something you'll have to keep in mind.
16 seconds for their final ban. Do they really want to commit to the 6 bans that could easily take out something? But you're already giving away one of the supports that's going to be on the board if you really go for that. The 80 carries on the bench right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to trade Lulu, Janna, Sejuani for Gragas as well. Javan is available. He's gone now by RNG. So we have a lot of trades. Again, Gragas for Sejuani, Lulu for Janna. So you can first pick this Tristana that they were setting up for.
And you have to mention, of course, the Tristana. It's the Padden special from what we've seen of him at Play-ins and at Worlds. Very comfortable on the champion. We're looking at potentially an Ashe or a Vayne, I'm still going to say.
Or what about Ezreal?
Yeah, perhaps.
Ooh.
He brought it out in the
finals, yes.
It was quite surprising that he actually started playing it as one of the
surprising is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it was. At first, I'm like, man, that's a weird pick. Why would he do this? But then he started winning laning phase with it as well. I'm like, okay, Uzi Ezreal is pretty damn legit.
So there's going to be the Lulu locked in. We figured the supports would go back and forth. Obviously with the 80 carry for Thaldrin picked up that Tristana for Padden. We'll see the answer with Sejuani now. So could pinch those junglers with the Jarvan ban, but it doesn't look like Crash is going to let that go.
Yeah, Mlxg is prioritizing his Sejuani. I guess G2 have put the fear of Sejuani back into him, so he's going to pick that one up first, knowing that a champion like Gragas is available, and picking that jungler, knowing that the 80 carry is available later.
Yeah, and I assume Janna comes in as well for Japone down in the bot lane, and you just have this complete trade where RNG said, we're okay giving you Tristana to get our preferred support and jungler, and then I assume Uzi will pick his 80 carry, or is he ready for 2 more bans and then have, you know, that Vayne left? He can do it.
We named 3 80 carries, and that's the thing. Do they want to throw the gauntlet, pick a really good mid laner or something of the likes, and then just say, go ahead, ban all of the 80 carries that you can muster?
Okay, they want to engage down in the bottom lane here. I'm really smelling this Camp Uzi in the early game strategy with this Rakan to set it up. You got Gragas who can early gank the lane as well. Do we get a mid lane pick maybe here for XiaoHu, or do we get Uzi's 80 carry?
10 seconds left for RNG to decide. XiaoHu is taking the final words from Firefox before locking that pick in.
Oh!
And it's going to be the Vayne!
Oh, we saw him coming the second. All of the 80 carry bans came across.
The crowd exploding with energy.
He's looking at the Rakan as well, saying, I can tumble out of that engage, I can stay alive in the laning phase. Sure, the trades against the Tristana not super fun, but you got a Lulu there to back you up. And it's Uzi Vayne.
Yeah, Uzi's played it a couple of times in the LPL, once with a victory, once with a defeat, but he looked really good every single time, and the crowd knows what it means. It's not just Uzi's Vayne, it's Uzi's Vayne at Worlds.
It's all about building those legends, and looks like Uzi's going to put another page in his book with that Vayne play at Worlds. The second phase of bans come through now. Trundle, Lucian off the board. Royal never got up in their final ban. 20 seconds left.
And I gotta say, like, the strategy makes a lot of sense from 1907 Fenerbahçe. Like, I know it's Uzi Vayne, so you're always kind of extra hyped when he gets to play it, but it's not a strong meta pick. And the fact that I'm trying to put him on this champion, saying maybe you can't carry as hard, at least in the early game, on this Vayne here, could give a bit of an advantage to the bottom lane of FB.
Yeah, definitely smart stuff from FB so far. RNG, I mean, they have been forced into certain picks. Vayne is an example, right? Like, we can be all excited about Uzi picking Vayne, but it's still Vayne, which does have a poor laning phase. You mentioned Lulu helps, but you'd still favor FB no matter what here. Gragas, very good ganker. The rest of the team composition, I would assume they're against a Maokai right now, FB, something of the likes because of the Nasus and Trundle bans. So we'll have to see how they play out the rest of the draft.
How about some more protection for Uzi on this Vayne here? The Galio mid, well, it is a flex pick right now, so I quite like when teams pick it here just after the bans.
And FB banned away the champions that you'd probably want to play into it as well, with Lucian being removed, maybe picking the Galio themselves, and RNG read that.
There is, of course, things like Syndra and Cassiopeia and Orianna still available for Frozen. the Syndra pick against Galio is never feels great because you can't really kill the Galio and he can always push against you or at least match the shove. I think Galio just leaves your lane anyway.
Yeah, I'm expecting a Maokai here for the record from FB. Cho'Gath just gets destroyed by Vayne when you hit mid and late game.
Oh, yeah.
None of your spells will connect and you will just die, and you'll just be a punching bag for Uzi. So picking the Cho'Gath, one of the biggest risks you'll make in this game if you're FB.
Japone locks in the Maokai, a little bit of slow down if they are getting chased a lot, or their own engage, and a bit of safety for that top laner.
And now you can just go Cho'Gath yourself if you want for RNG, and then Syndra can't really kill any of the 2 or 3 frontline tanks in this game here. And if you finally get through the tanks, there is the Lulu protecting the Vayne in the back.
And there's still a world where Gnar is a decent option because you want a bit of extra damage, maybe 1 extra threat on the team. Still kind of like a tank. Cho'Gath does do a fair amount of damage himself, so I think you are correct with that option.
Yeah, I guess the true damage on whichever tank is in front of Uzi, combined with Uzi's damage, is what they're hoping to rely on to obviously win fights here. But as you highlighted there, Rusty, it is very much just on Uzi to deal the damage most of the times in the fight outside of that big ulti from the Cho'Gath.
40 seconds on the clock. Both teams know what compositions are coming in. Fenerbahçe says put up. Uzi says what up. He puts in that Vayne, and they are going head to head now. But the idea is on the board. They're going to go for that Vayne. Fenerbahçe is completely spelled this out. We are targeting Uzi.
And we were just talking to Rusty before the game here about the big signs just in front of the caster desk where all the fans are sitting asking like, what's on these signs here? Who are these people? And apparently it is the Uzi fan club sitting over here. They went completely nuts as soon as he locked in that Vayne. Hopefully he can perform.
It's just like your traditional football matches. They'll start the chant, and the rest of the crowd came in immediately afterwards. They're excited, and you can't help but feel excited when Uzi does lock in Vayne, but boy, do FB want to kill him quickly.
We're going to have to see. You remember, if RNG drop 2 games, there is a tiebreaker at the end of the day. If not, they're just going to be playing for seeding along the way versus Samsung Galaxy at the end of the day. Still some crazy things that can happen here in the group, but now Fenerbahçe trying to get that win, trying to get that victory, a first for any Turkish team of the TCL here coming onto the world's stage in the group stage format. We'll see if they can do it here. RNG ready to put up a fight.
Yeah, we know that the Turkish champions can definitely challenge these teams in the early game. We have seen that multiple times already. And again, when you draft a Vayne, you're not really looking to play super aggressive early. They want to get level 6 on XiaoHu, want to get level 6 on Uzi, and then maybe start making some plays around bottom side.
And that is the thing you're looking towards here. For FB to win this game at all, Crash needs to be able to make some work happen early on in the game. He's got a Rakan Tristana in the bottom lane. Syndra's very good to gank for as well, though it is a Galio that you're going to be ganking if you had to choose. But they can unlock all of the map, kill bottom lane because their composition lets them. We just have to kind of find out how does Crash come about doing that.
Exactly, and also if Uzi will be on point with his condemns in this one, you can use it against a Rakan, maybe against a Gragas. Obviously, the flash engages from a Gragas you can't really stop, but if you are very quick on this specific champion here, the Vayne, you can play very defensive. But again, you might be under a lot of pressure. Oh, they're gonna find Ming.
Hi, Ming. But Ming could also beat the bait. XiaoHu there. Little Winds of War to start things off. It doesn't look like anybody's roaming too hard for this. They're just figuring out where the line of scrimmage is actually flexing to.
Yeah, stopping each other from getting super deep and placing any deep vision. It's mostly just going to be around the river that you can see right now on the minimap where all of the bobbleheads are walking through there.
I think if you're RNG, you want to see if Crash is getting a red buff and then early ganking on the bottom side. Again, that's exactly what Clearlove did from EDG against RNG in the LPL final. They steal away some of the Raptors, good call as well, and they have that little ward on the red buff to see what's happening after the buff dies.
And 2 of the Raptors went to Frozen just as much as 2 went to XiaoHu. The biggest win here is that Crash doesn't get them, so it denies a lot of the experience, but both mid laners are now accelerated, and 1 wave will give them level 2, so they'll be trying to push it hard clear. Of course, XiaoHu comes out slightly ahead in that respect. There's no chance of Frozen bullying him out at all.
Moving up just for a ward to keep things safe. They know the early game from FB could be what is dangerous here. A lot of the games within this group have gone quite long. And as of now, looks like this one's going to start off pretty heated. Bot lane taking some damage back and forth as Ming tries to grab a little brush control.
As we mentioned in champs like the tumble here from Uzi, the condemn as well, like multiple ways to try and avoid the engage from Japone. Bit of damage in mid lane as well from Frozen side, but we really just gotta look at Crash and see what he wants to do. Mlxg can actually just look to counter gank in this game. He doesn't need to force anything. It's on the Gragas.
Certainly is, of course. The last time we've seen Mlxg running around on the Rift, he was going for full clears, trying to just get as far ahead in the jungle as he could. The enemy jungler started getting some ganks off and things went a little bit awry.
Nice hit on the Ming. That's going to be the ignite down as well. Flash forward or hit forward from padden on the rocket jump. They're going to get the extra damage in, get the explosive shot. The reset gets him out, and Mlxg hovering on the side, looking for Japone. This could be the hit. A little bit of a quill heal, but is it enough? The follow-up kill and retribution coming in from Ming for RNG.
It's Uzi getting that kill for RNG here. I like the engage from FB first, though, to get a first one onto Ming here. You know the Vayne is not really going to be any threat against you, so nice all-in. But because Mlxg was around, he managed to go down and secure a kill for his AD carry.
Yeah, frankly, FB did the correct thing. They've got the lane to win the 2v2, especially at level 2. They have the ignite, so the advantage is theirs. If they get the engage off properly, they do. Everything looks great, but Mlxg's smart pathing in this instance will get him to the bottom lane. The fact that he was there is very commendable from the Sejuani, but we get to see how this all started.
Mlxg coming down already from the left side. That early ward on red lets them know Gragas up towards the top. No problem happening. Nothing else happening down here. And it's just an easy 1-2 for them after that kill.
And I think padden maybe should just actually stand in front of his support there and block the Sejuani dash that happens. And then maybe he can save Japone. But it's so difficult in the moment because padden doesn't want to die either. So no one actually wants to sacrifice each other here. And in the end, it is the support going down. 1 for 1.
Japone saying, we don't want any more of this. We're going to get an early ward out towards that mid side and make sure he can do a little bit of action with his AD carry out of the lane. Always nice to be able to work off the ball and make sure your team is always getting a few steps ahead, because that trading kills did give them a bit of a gold lead here. Still, even in mid, a little bit of a lead for Thaldrin in the top lane. We haven't seen any jungler intervention there, as it is all about the bottom as we expected.
There's no Galio here, so Mlxg is just being a pain, trying to keep his eyes on Crash, maybe steal away a camp or two. Like, Syndra will be there, significantly faster, but Mlxg is just toying with his food, so to speak here, even without a Galio.
How close are these guys to 6? Halfway there, so we're not going to expect the chomp from LetME, but he's getting hit up pretty hard. Force the flash as he's under his turret now. Thaldrin can come back pretty strong after this one if he wants.
I like that all in. Put the sapling in the brush as well for a bit of extra damage if it does connect, and force that flash from LetME. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it's XiaoHu pushing, trying to get level 6 so he once again can protect the bottom lane, because right now, Uzi is sitting on almost 40 CS, 5.5 minutes into the game, so Vayne is not getting denied anything.
It's a good point.
And she even picked up a kill.
Not getting denied near enough. Whilst top lane may have flashed, he is still alive, and that's not really going to deny him anything because the minions were pushing in. Same thing applies in the bottom lane. RNG have been excelling at getting to the later stages of the game if teams let them get there. And even with the early aggression from FB's bottom lane in the 2v2, Crash wasn't there. Crash wasn't able to play his part. And suddenly Mlxg is having more impact than him, and things have started to change. The dynamic is shifting.
I'm pretty sure Mlxg was a little kind of surprised to see that Crash wasn't there as well, going down, figuring there'd be many ganks towards Uzi. So far, Mlxg with the higher jungle proximity in that situation. 6 minutes in, FB still pushing on this lane to try and get that damage in.
It's also just a ton of defensive wards on the bottom side. And this bot lane here from FB, gotta be careful because Mlxg is in a river with double control ward. There is a level 6 Galio in the mid as well, so if you overextend without your flashes, you will just die. And you can see XiaoHu constantly moving down. This control ward in his little brush is important because he knows he can stand in that brush. And right now, if you're FB, all you can do is say, Galio is missing, careful, don't go aggressive.
And the thing is, they've got a Tristana, so they will always be pushing against the Vayne if they're both last-hitting minions just equally. So padden will continue to push in, and my expectations for RNG is that it will be a blue buff given over to XiaoHu, and at the blue buff timing, it may be a gank bottom instead. It's a very easy way to get your way into the bottom lane.
I see padden falling about 10 CS behind, even if he cleans up that wave in lane. So RNG doing fantastically there. XiaoHu pushed up mid, and right now it just looks like things calm down. They want to actually see if maybe Fenerbahçe will make the first move next or walk into all these wards that RNG has on the map right now.
Always a team effort to get rid of all the river wards here. You always want to get a push in mid, so your mid laner can move down with the jungler, kill the wards just around the mid lane, and then later on when your bot lane can push safely, they can take their control wards on their side of the river down here near the bottom lane. But before you can do that, well, you kind of just rely on the enemy team not doing anything aggressive. And it seems like RNG are happy farming, which they should be, because XiaoHu are not trying to overforce anything.
They're choosing not to go for any kind of big plays. I saw the ping from FB straight towards the blue buff around the timing we mentioned before, but Mlxg is on the top side of the map doing his Krogs, so he's not going to be even close.
And I want to ask you, Rusty, as the LPL expert here, through Mlxg's career, have you ever felt like there were moments where he was just like super patient and always just about vision and counter ganking? Or was it always about just pure ganking? Because that's how I remember Mlxg.
Yeah, I don't think it's really changed until this tournament, where I feel like he started to have a mentality shift. There were moments where he was playing to counter gank when Uzi wasn't on the team, but that is the best I think we have seen from him, and that was during the Rift Rivals phase. He looked good doing it. XiaoHu was a star player during it, but now the meta has changed once again. Mlxg seems to have changed with it for the first time.
And it's actually good to see you have to be able to adapt on the world stage, especially in a best of one. And we've seen that RNG has been able to come in quite strong in this event with, you know, EDG being thought to be kind of be that one that was going to power through everything. Big surprise here from these swap. Crash. He's going to be able to walk out in just a second. Bot lane was actually Mlxg, but it looks like they're going to stay and probably get a little bit of dragon control.
As soon as RNG realized they've lost the river, they just take it back instantly.
Oh no, that's actually unfortunate.
Ah, come on, it's even in the circle right there. That's unfair.
Worst disco ball ever.
It's like they trade sides. Passing through, more ward cleared, knows there's some towards the top side, and RNG is doing a great job at keeping all this vision. It stops Crash from getting back into the game, and it stops them from getting anything for padden in that bot lane.
And speaking of that vision though, Riv, there is an awful lot of it from FB. It's not just that it's getting all cleared out, they have so many wards in different places that it's impossible for RNG to remove them all because they're not level 9 with the moving sweepers available. So they're picking their areas, and they've done it well enough to be okay.
He can sneak into the next one. That was actually really smart. I didn't do it, damn it.
It was.
I thought it was going to move in, body slam into the next brush. He wouldn't have been noticed by the ward, but instead he recalled. So that could have been sneaky, but instead it is just the standard 2v2 in the bottom lane.
A few shots from Uzi, getting that third bolt in. It looks like they're going to get a quick hit over. Mlxg was planning this one before. They think nothing is there because of the ward right through the uprights.
Wow, that is unfortunate for Mlxg, but also well done from FB to avoid it in their own unique way.
Absolutely.
Tristana's ability to jump out saves her. Rakan's mobility as well is a gift for him, and they survive it. They get rid of Mlxg's ultimate. He also has no mana, so he's going to go back to base, and he showed himself on the other side of the map.
I think they took an idea from that, heading towards the top side. Rupture onto one, body slam just missing, and they push LetME back to his turret.
Never use both abilities instantly right there, because if you just land one of them first and then force the flash from the Cho'Gath after, you can then of course follow up here, especially with your ulti from Crash. But he tried to combine the body slam flash stun into a knockback. Sadly for him, LetME is fast enough to just flash away, and you actually end up looking quite foolish and wasted everything.
Ultimately, what I will say for Crash in that case is he chose not to flash to try and do a clean just 2-spell combo. So he holds on to it, and he will have it for the next engage they choose to make, and that'll be up sooner than LetME's flash himself.
My poor brain saw the flash and was like, ah, that's Gragas. No, that was Cho'Gath.
Well, yeah.
That was Cho'Gath. You are 100% correct. Instead, Crash, happy with the flash, as you said.
Bot lane getting pushed in by padden and Japone. Looks like they're trying to keep a little bit of pressure on here for Crash to come in. The ward comes over and alerts RNG. Teleports are up, and it looks like both are in range to do so.
It's so risky though, they're going for it.
Galio's gonna head towards the bot side. That's gonna be Thaldrin going in. LetME comes as well. As I said, they cannot stop each other at that range. And it's gonna be the big hit coming in. Wins a war into XiaoHu's knockup. And the rest of the damage coming in from Uzi and LetME.
You can't do this against the Galio and of course TP from the Cho'Gath. It's too late for FB to start diving the bottom lane. Everything was ready from RNG side to defend, and it was almost too easy.
Yeah, felt very simple from RNG to be able to defend that bottom lane outer turret. Gragas didn't even have the cask. He's just going to go coast to coast and try and start
the flash, though.
He definitely had his flash. Not anymore, Deficio, because he has to try and flash away. And damage control after a very weird start. And RNG just get everything.
Great blade finish as well for Uzi. As we take another look at this, it seemed like FB was on point, but that early ward alerted RNG.
And it's just on to the support. They're engaging here. Uzi staying so far back. RNG reads the play. They can see everyone moving to that bottom side from mid and from the jungle side, and, well, they're ready. Yeah,
they give the kill to Uzi. They introduce FB to the bouncing castle in the bottom lane as well. And the condemn from Uzi stopped the body slam flash from Gragas. Didn't actually come out at all.
Rage Blade from Uzi as well. First item. I've seen a lot of Infinity Edge into the double zeal from Vayne. I've seen the old play the Rune King as well. Rage Blade in this game though, for him with the Ardent Sensor, massive power spike on one item, and just like when you play like the Varus here, as long as you can continue getting auto attacks off, it's a lot of damage. Again. This is round 2 now.
Rinse and repeat. Teleport coming in. They say Uzi, Ming, stay. Let's go. XiaoHu's coming down here. The teleport was used from LetME, so he can stay topside, and he's gonna have to fight with Thaldrin. And it looks like they have the pressure here and won't lose too much in mid, and they stop the turret from going down.
Yeah, Uzi has to get his last hits, man. It takes a teleport, but they will make sure he gets it. Everything that the Vayne wants is going to belong to him. That is how RNG have designed their composition, and now they go aggressively.
Ooh, third hit. Now Padden's left face to face with Uzi. A back and forth. I like that he's trading before just jumping out. These are going to be some great fights.
So barrier ready for Uzi in case he needed it, but this is what we see so often when Ardent Sensor is completed on one side, and also Rage Blade, which is stronger as one item compared to iEdge. You can just go aggressive, play around the lane, take that tower, and just snowball the game.
Even in an equal trade, the healing that comes out of the Ardent Sensor starts to mean too much in the end. Just fighting the 2v2, not knowing where Mlxg is, knowing that XiaoHu is always just around the corner as well, means what is effectively a 2v2 gives the first turret to RNG.
And we see Japone a clip just a slight bit off of being able to get his Ardent. They head towards topside. This gives RNG so much time to work that composition wherever they want now. And it's going to be that strong once again as they hit the top side of the map. Here it looks like they're not actually going to be rotating. Mlxg towards bot side, and Uzi's going to keep going.
LetME has lost his flash twice in this game. The first time it was just a 1v1, no one ganked him after. He got the flash ready, got ganked again, lost it. Now it's almost up a third time, but crashes here before it happens, forcing LetME off, not able to kill him. Meanwhile, in the bot lane though, RNG is pushing. Yeah,
they've been set up the vision. You can see that on the mini-map. They've got a straight line back towards safety if they would like, and they've got the tempo completely. FB will only be able to get the one turret, you would have to imagine, for this trade. RNG come out ahead again.
Oh, they might look for more up here. They have Tristana as well, but it's only 3 guys pushing. TP is not available from Thaldrin's side, so he can't actually join the fight. They have to just back away. Riftel is also available, but after pushing all the way into that tier 2 tower, you end up spending a lot of your time on just pushing the waves and not actually starting the objective.
Yeah, it took them so long to get that top lane out of turret that RNG were able to re-establish themselves now in a side lane. Uzi's gone for a QSS for the record as well. Doesn't want to die.
Very fast.
Knows that the team will protect him, and that does mean that things like the Rift Herald that you mentioned, Deficio, can be looked at by the opposing side of RNG more than FB.
Yeah, they can just push out top lane right now. They want to look for 2v2s against this Tristana lane. When you have the Rage Blade on Vayne, you will pass level 6 as well, so your 1v1 abilities is fantastic.
And this is the tab test. Have FB pressed tab and seen the QSS, or have they looked at their own items and said, we have the Infinity Edge Ardent Sensor, we can 2v2? That's the real question.
Uzi right now 1,200 gold above Padden, basically his living in that Quicksilver sash. And the rest of the gold for the team, setting up towards the top side, ready to pick just one off. I don't think anybody's crazy enough to walk into that brush, though.
And it's really just gone all wrong here in the early game for the Turkish champions. They were supposed to try and gank Uzi and shut him down.
Well, speaking of wrong,
Frozen getting caught out, gonna be able to flash over the wall, stun, cleanse as well, but flash and cleanse down means he is a huge target, and RNG gains so much control in the mid lane.
Exactly, and yeah, now it's RNG with the ganks instead, forcing flashes, and it's Uzi sitting on 2 kills because FB didn't get the early ganks. They didn't win for that tower dive, which was way too predictable and too late in the game against the Galio comp, and it cost him quite a lot. And Mlxg is playing around his top side. Uzi is insanely strong already and just wants to constantly trade with the enemy team.
XiaoHu's level 12, so he can definitely come in here, Riv. There could be a fight.
He is slowly walking up. Padden Japone with a little bit of ticks on their health, I feel like, are making RNG hungry enough. Blood in the water towards the top side of the map, 3-1, and RNG's making a look. Those kills go up. They're gonna back off for now. Things are very edgy right now at this point. They can't figure out if they want it or not.
It's important to remember that Frozen has to walk a very long route to get to the top side. Okay, a XiaoHu. Mlxg's coming, there's no flash.
1v1s, no doubt about that. How about adding Mlxg? They're going to be hitting up Frozen. Big target, flashing cleanse down, and they come back for that one.
Even LetMe's there, just in case the tanks couldn't quite kill him themselves, and that is such an unfortunate timing. RNG now set up in the middle lane. They can go to the Rift Herald at the same time. You're seeing that now from them, and that Rift Herald can be used to break top if they choose. Crash is already defending mid. There's just everywhere for FB going wrong.
It's just very smart play around the mid lane specifically, because what XiaoHu is doing is when he's going towards the top side, he forces Frozen to path to top side as well. But there's no flash and there's no cleanse, so once XiaoHu goes back to his lane, he knows he's never going to get pushed out because this Syndra's constantly trying to roam as well and defend. Yeah. So when he just goes back, he's like, okay, there's the Syndra. Well, she's really easy to kill, and they're constantly pulling FB between mid and top lane.
The age-old question as well is, did XiaoHu miss the E on purpose to dodge the stun? Or did he expect a juke? We'll never know, but it worked.
Always. It's a choose your own adventure, whatever one you want. Whatever one makes you feel better. 183 to 155 in CS for that bot lane. And watching where Uzi is positioning in these fights as they make their way back towards the top side and continue farming it out. Everything pretty much in those first items in everybody's inventory. But I think they were aware of the Quicksilver Sash, it seemed, in that fight. Everybody was quite hesitant to go in from the side of Fenerbahçe and RNG. However, not onto Frozen, still playing a bit aggressive with those summoners down.
Well, I feel bad for Frozen because he's playing Syndra. You want to burst squishy targets. So look at the enemy team there. So Cho'Gath, Sejuani, Galio, 3 unkillable champions basically. And then there's a Lulu adding even more HP to these different tanks. So,
well, you know you have to click then, right?
I guess,
you only have one target to click still.
You can try and burst down the Lulu if you want to, because killing Uzi, he's so far back with barrier as well. That should be almost impossible for Frozen. It seems like one of those games where the star mid laner from this team just can't have an impact.
XiaoHu not wanting it. Looks like they're just going to be getting aggressive for the blue here, taking that away from Frozen, would just continue to deplete his resources and mental throughout this game. Still holding strong though, 200 CS to 190 of XiaoHu in a pretty tough mid lane.
Yeah, he's been farming quite well. Frozen will be able to steal the blue buff away, I guess. It's his own blue buff, but he'll press W on it.
Steal his own blue buff.
He stole it.
From the situation.
Yes, he evacuated that one. And he'll be able to hold mid lane decently well because he has that blue on top of everything else. However, RNG, with this many people able to group up and pressure, it's going to be harder to hold now.
All right, looks like they're just going to push this one in. Just outside of the taunt range is Crash. Bringing up the Rift Herald's going to bring that down. Just about done. A few more hits, and it is a little too close for comfort. Crash, and it looks like he may go down. Japone now in the middle of the fight. Gets the battle dance back to Padden, and it looks like Mlxg wants 3, but he goes down in favor of Padden. XiaoHu taking turret shots, and Thaldrin does the same as he goes down. Vayne is going to get that kill as Uzi picks one up. LetME chomps down on the members of FB, and Uzi will not stop, and he gets the exit from Padden.
They get all the kills right now. It looked like a fight FB maybe could try and turn around, but killing these tanks is just so difficult. And in the back line, they're sitting this Vayne, dealing damage non-stop.
For a whole second, I think FB might have had that one, and then RNG just proved to be too strong. Honestly, just proved to be too far ahead already, and we're only at 21 minutes into this game. Through basic laning right now, they get the inhibitor mid.
Backing out, happy with that one, and what a turn to the game. As soon as they were coming onto the mid turret, I was going to ask you guys, as we watch this, you know, how do FB get back in? Who do they ult in this situation, if you can?
I mean, you're hoping that you have enough CC and Uzi to maybe burst him down with the Syndra, but Frozen is just constantly kept busy with 3 tanks in his face.
Yeah, Uzi actually got CC'd 4 times consecutively, chose to QSS only the last one to get into the fight. But by the time he joined the fight, RNG had already won it. So he just comes in, picks up the table scraps, gets some nice kills and an exit. Compliments of Padden, of course, in the end. And still did an abundance of damage, but the tanks set it all up because the tanks are ahead.
Cho'Gath, Mlxg, Sejuani, XiaoHu on the Galio, making it look easy. But really, they are positioning very well here to make sure Uzi can get what he needs in these fights. FB hasn't had the chance to even really turn and look at this Vayne throughout the game so far. 8-2 here, 22 minutes in as RNG extend that lead to 10K and are looking to position for Baron.
So I like the Void Staff rush for Frozen here, knowing that, okay, maybe it's actually not about killing Uzi in the back, but instead kill the first tank in the front and see maybe if you can do anything against it. This is a very quick Baron, obviously going down when you have a Rage Blade and a Cho'Gath who can always feast it in the end. Nothing Fenerbahçe can actually do to stop it, and they just have to surrender another big objective.
There was such an influx of gold in the early part of the game. The fact that he got that Rage Blade, they said, attack speed, let's bring it up to the second turret as well. Took the second tier turret down as the first tier top turret was getting taken. They've just been a few steps ahead each time, and it really all comes down from knowing where Crash was and stopping any of his early action.
And we've seen two special picks now this tournament that really need to scale into the late game. Nasus up in the top lane, obviously from Khan. We have now seen their Vayne from Uzi, and both times they had a Galio mid lane. And the Galio mid lane just prevents teams from playing aggressive against side lanes when that ulti from Galio is ready, because he's so quick to join and just provide extra defense. And it makes it easier for these picks that don't really want to just fight early on, but just wants to farm.
Yes, including even the Samsung game last game, when you're comparing two hyper carries, it's fair to always just say the team with the Galio, even if the hyper carries are equally as strong, should be able to survive and win that team fight just because of the ultimate that XiaoHu in this case will be able to have, let alone the distance that he can cover, the fact that he can side lane and rotate.
And don't get me wrong here, like, I would love to see XiaoHu on some big carry picks, and he can really show, you know, the strong performance from the summer split in the LPL, but the fact that it is a meta with Ornn Sensor and you can rely on your AD carry and your mid laner can take more of a backseat is definitely not a bad thing for RNG. It just doesn't make XiaoHu look like, you know, one of the absolute best players in the world, because he doesn't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is also a world where LPL teams getting Galio is just the best thing for the LPL, let alone talking about what Galio does for anyone else. Galio Jarvan was just a staple in our league for quite some time.
RNG approaching the front of the base on two fronts now. I would say LetME's actually already in, and RNG in the bot side with 4 members here. Rally Cowl's on, their loss to G2 earlier says we're going to be doing better. Look at all that magic resistance, Righteous Glories as well. It only means go, and it's just a matter of when they want to push the button at this point.
Very soon.
Quick reminder here, if RNG wins this game, they guarantee quarterfinals, and they make sure that they have this last game against Samsung, end of the day, where they fight for first place.
Yes.
Very important, obviously, to lock down first, so you can avoid teams like Longshu and SKT in that first quarterfinal.
But if RNG lose,
if RNG lose this one, then G2 still have a chance to actually make this
but they're going in.
See it.
It doesn't look like XiaoHu and LetME want that to happen. Damage down onto Japone as he was down, and it's Crash Padden jumping back. They can't get away from the damage. It's RNG is relentless inside the base. Hits up and takes down Frozen. Now eyes on Thaldrin as Padden is kiting too far away, and almost onto the fountain goes Uzi for another kill. Thaldrin very, very low, and it looks like he will fall. Uzi picks up another one.
RNG have all of the kills they need but Padden, and it feels like they should be able to end the game unless Uzi wants to dive the fountain. Don't count that as a possibility. They should just get this clean.
25 minutes in. They bring out the Vayne. Uzi brings out the pain, and RNG are going to look to win over FB, making it 4-1 in the group.
I am so happy we got to cast an Uzi Vayne game where he basically had to farm in the early game, stay alive, and then complete one item, and then they could just start fighting around the Vayne. And he ends with 6 kills, and it looks like he was the main carry, but honestly, this was about the big tanks in the front line. They made his life so easy in this game, especially that Galio from XiaoHu.
Yeah, the Cho'Gath, the Sejuani, the Galio, they all put in work. Ming on Lulu being able to keep Uzi alive, and even though that KDA, as you mentioned, favors Uzi just a little bit, FB had a strategy. They forced him into the Vayne. It's just that RNG had the rest of their team composition.
They got everything there.
Basically as Exodia to protect any AD carry that RNG locked in.
What a fantastic play coming out. Early vision onto Crash. Not much he could do after that. They knew he was on the top side, and they started to get Uzi going from the get-go. He's got to feel pretty good, and this mentally for RNG has to be a huge boon.
Exactly, like you have RNG now getting out of this group here, guaranteeing to be in the top 8. We'll play a quarterfinal in China. when you have some of the other teams where we don't know, with WE and EDG, we don't still know if they can actually make it out of their group. So RNG being the first team to lock that is very important for them and, of course, for China.
Yeah, it certainly is. And of course, not only have they got the victory here, put themselves in the quarterfinals, the crowd was behind them. That's a momentum builder for RNG. And we said before, Samsung have momentum. Well, now what if two teams with momentum start to collide against one another?
Vayne, you know, ooh, can you deal with him?
I don't think they're actually going to get to the Vayne in
Probably
that
not.
game.
That's probably the one Vayne game we get.
So we're going to go ahead to hear from Mlxg in a minute. But first, let's send it over to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much for ban the Vayne. We had to ban 580 carries just to get to the Vayne.
But they did pick it first rotation so that you could not ban it in ban phase 2.
There it is, Frost.
And real talk, I just have to say this. I know everyone's going to be like, it's Uzi's Vayne. For those people who aren't long-term League of Legends, he is famous for this pick. He has used it multiple times, not just once, not just twice, but 4 times in the LPL this split alone. And RNG actually do think that Vayne has a place in this meta. Naturally not as a top priority, but she's a tank shredder. She works very well with the Ardent sensor supports, and you can see it yourself. Uzi didn't have any problems in lane phase. He went up, what, 20, 30 CS on padden?
I mean, that said, we're looking at the composition drafted by 1907 Fenerbahçe, and Triss Rakan is definitely a duo that's up to the task of punishing a Vayne.
I mean, there's a lot of power on the side of 1907 Fenerbahçe's draft, absolutely, but I think we should also consider more than just the Vayne, what RNG's goals were here, because they were going to be likely to win this game, whatever the draft was. We talked about, what about where Uzi's mind space is, where the team is at? Are they feeling good coming into a must-win against Samsung? You have to remember that the winner of that game dodges longs you guaranteed, probably dodges SKT, probably dodges teams you want to dodge in the quarterfinals. 4 supports and Vayne is a good way to make Uzi feel pretty great
Cho'Gath
about himself. You know what I mean? Support,
Yeah,
set up tanks. Right. Basically, only people setting up for the Vayne to take full advantage. You heard the crowd. The momentum is high with that team, and that, to me, was what they needed from this game to really set them up for Samsung.
But it's not just babying Uzi. Like, I love the point, and I completely agree with grabbing the momentum, grabbing the mentality, and everyone needs to remember, this was a must-win for RNG. It's not like they could just go in and just style on kids, even though that is maybe what ended up happening. But it's also the fact that they trust in Uzi, that when their backs are to the wall, when it is a very important game, it's like, hey, 580 carry bands, this guy's a pretty good Vayne player, he can probably carry.
I mean, it wasn't just baby Uzi, but it kind of was just baby Uzi. 11 minutes in, 1907 Fenerbahçe, they take everyone down to the bot lane. They look for the punish. RNG make the call to defend it. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
And they were absolutely ready for this one. This is when the game actually just exploded, and you can see the mid lane presence of XiaoHu. Like, yes, Uzi is the one getting the kills when everyone else backs away and makes space for him to be able to get the kill, but that play is saved by the Galio coming in.
Yeah, massive taunt right there. My favorite part, though, is they see that the teleport ward gets set down, so they know the dive is coming. Uzi just walks back to the tower like, okay, you want to dive? I dare you.
And that's why I say in jest, right? Because there is truth to the fact that the win condition of that composition is very much to protect Uzi. But there is, in a sense, that babying mindset around like, all right, we just wait for him to scale, and we know he'll roll through the rest of the team.
And Pop and I will go back and forth all day about where the true strengths of RNG lie, but I think we can both agree that the beautiful thing about this iteration of RNG is that XiaoHu can carry, that Uzi can carry. They carried in 2016 through LetME, and that's where the true dominance of this team. They have multi-different weapons.
And the team has style. Like, you could say they were trying to style on Fenerbahçe in this game, but when they're going to ban 380 carries and you think Vayne is good, why not choke the 80 carry pool until you get matchups that you're comfortable with and then build the team comp around it? Like, there is a world where this was RNG's best way of winning in their minds.
And you think about,
but it was so fun to watch because they got to play Vayne.
But you think about other picks they could have taken, the Ezreal they showed they like to play against Tristana in the LPL final, the Ashe. Would the game have been dramatically different with any other pick? It would still probably have been build around with what was left up, and I think it would have still worked.
And with this RNG victory, of course, they and Samsung Galaxy will be playing later today. Last game of the day for first place in the group. What that means, unfortunately, for G2 is that they are out of the running for a quarterfinal spot.
Yeah, and this is at the start of the day when we were trying to predict the 2 teams out of groups. All of us had some variation of RNG and Samsung, and even though G2 showed up in the big way, they had so much debt from week 1 that one misstep absolutely throws them out, which is why none of us in good faith could predict them to get out at the start of the day. So it's all down to that final game between RNG and Samsung.
And frankly, it's just a heartbreaker for G2 because, again, if you look at their score, it really doesn't show how close they were to success. They had very good early games. They decided against Samsung that they would try to go late game. You know, maybe they wouldn't get punished. And unfortunately, it was just these split-second decisions. You know, maybe if they'd gotten to the Baron, maybe if Finn hadn't face-checked right there, they could have walked away very differently.
I mean, all three of us sat together, actually, at the group draw show and said, man, that is a rough draw. G2 came in as the first seed of these three teams. You wanted to avoid the Chinese and Koreans, and we said already, getting out of those groups, statistically unlikely. G2 played a good tournament, but at the clutch, it wasn't enough, and sadly, they have to play this game coming up and know that, unfortunately, whatever they do, they will not be advancing.
Now for more on RNG's victory, let's go ahead and send it over to Sharks, who's ready with their jungler.
Thank you very much, guys. RNG makes it into the quarterfinals, and I'm here to have a word with Mlxg. And after quite a false start to the day versus G2, how did you guys make sure to refocus and focus on the rest of this important day?
所以今天你们小组赛第二轮小组赛第一轮呢，输给了G2， 然后呢，你们刚刚是怎么调整心态，然后打赢这场比赛的呢？
因为的话，我们队就每次在中午打比赛就打得很早嘛，就可能就状态不是很好，然后到后面的话手慢慢热起来，就会好打很多。
So usually when we're playing games, we don't really play this early. So I think a part of the reason was that it's a really early game and we weren't really like there yet. So we weren't able to do what we can do normally.
That's fully understandable. However, you guys did secure that spot in the quarterfinal, and now that match versus Samsung is up. You guys had a great performance versus them last week. How will you make sure to replicate that success and grab that first seat in front of your home crowd, who've been incredibly loud all day for you guys?
当然，你们接下来的话呢，将要打跟三星对战。那你们上周在跟三星对战当中，其实是碾压了他们。那你们接下来想要怎么去跟三星备战，然后怎么能够在主场拿下1号种子的这么一个胜利呢？
接下来打三星的话，其实我们还是有准备一些特别的东西的。然后去的话，等下打比赛的时候就知道了。
So the next match against Samsung, we actually prepared something very special for them, which you guys will see later on.
Oh, fantastic. I'm very excited for that. Well, thank you very much, Mlxg. Thank you, Lexi. As well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it'll be Fenerbahçe versus G2. Don't leave that browser.
This could be the hit. A little bit of a quill.